Good afternoon and welcome here to Shoecraft Field at MCLA. I'm Dan Wohler here with Assistant Athletic Director Jeff Polari for another recap show. Jeff, how are you?
Good, Dan. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, thank you. So Jeff, exciting season and year for Shoecraft Field. Now it has lights, so we're able to play some night games down there.
Yeah, kind of a long process that finally came to fruition. The men's soccer team got to turn on the lights for the first time last week in a kind of a twilight match with Skidmore. And then the MCLA women took the field the next night in a match with SUNY Poly. So really exciting to see those lights in action, and certainly will set an atmosphere for not only just this season but for years to come.
Certainly. So we'll begin the recap show with men's soccer. So they played a game against Skidmore, lost that game, and then a much more important conference game against Salem State, and they were able to get a draw in that game.
Yeah, you know, early on they've played some pretty quality non-league opponents. Skidmore, no exception, out of the Liberty League, and pretty good program. And fell 1-0. Sat a few players as well, just trying to get some rest heading towards league play. And again, that was the first night game officially at Shoecraft Field. And then fast forward to the weekend where they battled back and earned a 1-1 draw with Salem State. Issa Jola, big time goal off the bench, came in about 30 seconds after he even entered play and scored the eventual game-tying goal, which really gave them a lift. That was a game that certainly would have been difficult for them to walk away without a point from, and keeps them in the heart of the MASCAC. Currently, they stand at 1-0-1 and through 2 games, and so they're in a good position for a really strong October, and certainly will be an exciting October nonetheless.
Yeah, definitely looking for a lot of offensive production off of that Trailblazer bench. Now on to women's soccer. They played 2 games. Both games 2-0. One was a loss and one was a win, and unfortunately the loss coming in the conference game against Salem.
Yeah, the women's soccer team's been struggling to put the ball in the net, so to speak, and maybe they got a little bit of a boost playing the first true night game at Shoecraft Field against SUNY Poly with a 2-0 victory. It was great to see them get on the board, and then just this past weekend, a 2-0 loss at Salem State. Just couldn't get any offense going, and Salem finally got some balls past Meg Richardson, who's been outstanding so far in the early part of the season in goal. But it was a tough way for them to come. They currently sit at 0-1-1 in the conference. So they still got the majority of their season ahead of them. But as you can see, some pretty good highlights here from Natalie Caney, and also from first-year performer Kaylin Holliday, who scored her first collegiate goal in that win over SUNY Poly just the other night. So hopefully they can continue to keep it going and form a little bit of a tandem up front with Natalie and Kaylin, and start to produce some offense. They got a couple of big games here this week with Southern Vermont coming into town for a night game tomorrow night, and then Westfield State this weekend, one of their bigger rivals. So hopefully Kaylin and Natalie can pick up the offensive slack.
Definitely in some big MASCAC games. That's of high importance. On to women's volleyball recap. They went 2-1 on the week, and luckily that one win coming against Mass Maritime in a conference game.
And again, the volleyball program stepped up their non-conference slate, and their week began with a short trip over to Williams College to play perennially one of the tougher teams in the region in Williams. Didn't go as planned, or as we certainly would like to hope, dropping a 3-0 decision there. But they did rebound with a nice performance against Southern Vermont on Friday to earn a win, 3-0 victory, and that carried over into yesterday's result, a 3-1 win on the road in Mass Maritime, which was a conference win. So, currently sit at 1-1 in the league. Some very important games moving up, and we had some pretty good performances this past week.
Right, and the Trailblazer volleyball team, definitely an evolving team from last season. One of the players that's really stepped up this season is Rebecca Godbout. Yeah,
Rebecca's had a nice week. She had a very productive offensive day against Southern Vermont, and she carried that over to a nice performance against Mass Maritime, led the team in kills, been doing catching a lot of balls on the backside, getting a lot of digs in as well, and she's actually been serving the ball really well. So nice to see her kind of step forward and get some action and opportunities here early on.
And women's tennis also went 2-1 on the week, including a 1-1 mark in the NAC.
Yeah, they had a couple of real highlight style matches. Their week began at home with a match with Castleton that unfortunately didn't go our way in the end. We lost a tough 5-4 decision. It came down to the very final singles match, which went into a tie break, and unfortunately we squandered a little bit of an opportunity there to give Castleton the win. And then they pushed past Johnson State this past weekend in conference play. Another match that went 5-4 down to the wire, actually 5-3, pardon me, but down to the wire that we needed one of our freshmen, Sarah Hachadorian, to step forward and earn that key point, to which she did. Sandwiched in between those two NAC events was a road win at Sage. So nice to see them off to a good start. They're 3-1 in conference play. Tennis season comes really quickly. They wind down this week. They got a midweek conference game and then a pair of conference matches at home this weekend, and that'll wrap up their regular season.
We wish them the best of luck. And on to men's golf. They played a 36-hole tournament down at the Williams Invitational, but the men's golf team's struggling a little bit there.
Yeah, I mean, the scores are definitely improved from where we were a year ago, so that's a positive. They got to go over to the Williams two-day invite, very difficult golf course, Taconic Golf Club, par 71 layout. We continue to see some of the young players at MCLA step forward and kind of lead the team. Matt Lawrence and Quinn McCormick, I believe, were our two low guys. Again, they shot 85s yesterday. I want to say they had 83 the opening round. So nice to see them on a very difficult golf course. But certainly our youth did show some of our inexperience. We had some difficulties. It was a cold, kind of windy weekend as well, so not exactly ideal scoring conditions. But they'll continue to get better and continue to move forward. And they got another match tomorrow down at Westfield at Toccoa Country Club, so it should be fun.
And a look ahead at the week to come, let's begin with both soccer programs.
So as we already kind of said, women's soccer will host Southern Vermont in a non-league game, kind of a local rivalry, so to speak, kind of renewed. It's been a while since we've had Southern Vermont on the schedule, so it'll be good to see them in action. 6 p.m. again under the lights tomorrow. It's supposed to be a great day, so come on out and check that out. And then this Saturday we host Westfield State, which is another MASCAC game, a big game for us in the conference.
And then women's volleyball and tennis.
So women's volleyball is at Anna Maria, at Regis, and on the road at Mount St. Mary's in the tri-match. They've kind of had a lot of road tilts here early on in the season, and they're going to have to get through this difficult stretch, and then they will start a long homestand when they rebound from that. Women's tennis, as I've already said, they will travel to Colby Sawyer on Wednesday and then wrap up with home matches with Thomas and Husson, both main schools this weekend. Should be a great opportunity to see them. Probably going to need to win at least one of those matches to qualify for the NAC postseason, so it should be an interesting weekend on tap for the tennis program. And
a look ahead at the cross-country programs as well.
Cross country had a week off, which is pretty standard in that program, and they're back at it this weekend when they travel to Keene. Both programs, men's and women's, and they'll start another 3-week stretch of competitions for them.
And as we just mentioned, men's golf will travel to play in the Westfield Invitational there. So that pretty much wraps it up for all the athletic programs.
Yeah, it's just going to be another very busy week. It's not very heavy on the home schedule, but that's going to certainly change next week. But you know, a really important week as we start to turn the calendar to the fall and into October, that you'll really start to see the conference standings take shape, and hopefully MCLA will continue to improve and push forward and climb their way up the standings.
Trailblazer fans at home, like to thank you for watching. For myself and Jeff, remember that you can check into all things Trailblazer Athletics on our website and on all of our social media pages, and make sure to follow your Trailblazers as they start more conference play.